People used to work in photo labs before digital cameras. What weird stuff did you develop? I used to work in a pharmacy 1-hour photo lab during high school. Digital cameras weren't really a thing yet, the only ones around were really expensive. There were a couple instances of people bringing in sexy time photos, but honestly, that was pretty rare. The weirdest stuff, honestly, was when someone would drop off an entire roll of film with only 1 or 2 pictures on it. Or people that didn't know how to use their camera, so the film wouldn't wind/advance far enough for the next shot and you'd get overlapping images on the negative. And then people would complain about us ruining their pictures and I'd have to explain that, no, they ruin them all by themselves. Coworkers' nudes. I worked at Walmart, happened a lot. A really old woman, like 70s or so, posing in lingerie. Every few photos an article of clothing is removed. Up till the last photo spread eagle fully naked. Coworker had pics of 2 guys going at it. Guy picks him up, order comes through again. We don't sell the nudes BTW. Guy picks those up, orders again. Comes in and then decides to complain. Then there was one of the guy in an odd pose with a rolled sock over his junk and a stick of deodorant in one hand. Had lots of requests from guys wanting to print their naked body on a blanket for their girlfriend. Then there was a glorious canvas print that can't be described. We'll try to scrounge it up. Edit, found it. Also forgot one. Had an 80-year-old man who dumped his SD card on CDs. Somehow the computer picked a very specific set of photos to print on the front of the CD for thumbnails. It was him with an equally aged hooker in a hotel. He flipped out on us about how these photos don't exist and no one knows about this and he was gonna give these to his family for Christmas. The absolute most bizarre was when a local photo photographer accidentally double exposed his sister's wedding photos onto his aunt's funeral. There were strangely macabre images of the couple walking down the aisle overlaid atop the open casket. I worked at a wrist camera in a mall. This was when digital cameras were pretty expensive for the average person, so a huge portion of orders were film. So many dick pics, like multiple every day for different orders. I still don't get it. Lots of naked people. The police department photos were rough to do. The worst were the pedos that didn't realize we actually have to look at the pictures to color correct each image before we print it. These were pretty much always on film. We had to print them and call the cops, then we'd call the customer to tell them their order was ready and tell the cops when the customer was going to show up. College-age me was not prepared for that. It was not a rare occurrence. My brother works for photo developers where they also transfer VHS to DVD and digital. He says about 30% of the videos are home porn. The thing is, someone has to watch the entirety of the copy to check the quality, they have to watch everything. I think most people think it's all done by computers and no one will ever know what's on the tapes. Boy, are they wrong. He has many stories to tell. He also says they have the police there weekly because of illegal footage. Called the cops, young parents with a toddler, and they were holding guns to each other's heads, including baby, and then at the camera. The poses seemed like they were trying to be cool. Sad, parents posing with their stillborn child in all sorts of alive-looking poses, like sitting on the dad's lap. But the last pic was a baby in the coffin. Sad, we handled the film for the police sexual assault team. Lots of bruises, black eyes, stab wounds and sexual trauma wounds both inside and out. We once had a disposable camera put in the drop box that had pictures of an Amish kid's birthday party and also pictures of an Amish boy about 10 to 12 years old holding a hot dog through the fly of pants while another Amish boy about the same age was on his knees eating a hot dog. Rumspringa was probably very enlightening for those two. Walmart 1-hour photo mid-1990s checking in. We had the occasional funny/depressing nudes, could not print, just put a pre-printed naughty note in the envelope. Wet t-shirt contests, mostly would print, unless a manager or the ex-nun was working. I also remember a totally scuzzy guy dropping off a roll of sad attempted glamour shots of his equally scuzzy girlfriend wearing a bikini on a sport bike in their super messy garage, but most difficult was parents with their stillborn infant. Started off with first photos thinking it was just parents at hospital with their newborn. Then realized they didn't look happy. Then realized baby was not alive. Sad day. But appreciated these were likely the only photos they'd ever have of this child they'd been anticipating for months, and took more time color correcting for the fluorescent hospital lights than we were really supposed to spin per roll. I developed photos from ground zero, which was taken by a construction worker who was down there working on the cleanup. That's gotta be surreal, especially looking back on it. We weren't a commercial chain, just a mom and pop photo show / gift store that also did framing. This is why our small police station used us to develop their film of crime scenes. The owner didn't stutter when he said it was just best not to look, and there were legal repercussions for talking about anything we saw. I was 15 years old and it's the mid-90s, so I was bored AF and decided to take a gander because nothing bad ever really happened in our small town, right? Saw lots of abuse evidence, children, wives, animals. Keep in mind I knew these people and saw them pretty often and would have never guessed anything like that was going on at home. Car wrecks were really common as well because we were right off the interstate. I found out who all the drug dealers were. Natural unattended deaths were oddly beautiful, sad but still beautiful. A student in my high school was killed in a car wreck which involved a diesel. I was like, I'm not going to look. Not going to look, fuck I have to look. I was physically ill because everyone said it was blunt force trauma and I was not prepared to see this girl from choir decapitated. Her car went under the trailer after it jackknifed, basically slicing off the top of the car, and her head was laying eyes open in the passenger seat. It's one thing to see random people you don't know dead, and a completely different visceral experience seeing someone you know decapitated. I played basketball with her and we had classes together, but we weren't friends. She was literally the proverbial person that lit up the room. Everyone loved her, huge member of the student council, good Christian family, which was exactly the polar opposite of me. I was the person people felt obligated to invite to stuff while secretly hoping I will just go away. I felt like I just became the ghost for months. People would talk about the wreck and they absolutely didn't actually know the whole truth. I stopped looking at pictures, and after my parents expressed concern to my boss thinking I was using drugs or something to my boss, a Vietnam vet, he almost immediately knew I saw something I shouldn't have at an age that wasn't developed enough to process it. He talked to me and said it was fine if I wanted to quit. But I didn't, so he moved me to framing and taught me all about how it's done. I missed that place, it felt like home. But he passed in 2000 and it closed. Worked at CVS Pharmacy. Early 2000s. Repeat customer I knew by name shows up to pick up her pictures. I go and grab them and bring them to her. If you recall, we had to ask their names to verify the parents. I see two with her last name and only one with her full first and last name. The other one that only had the last name had the same initial as her first name. She checks out and goes to the pharmacy area. We start hearing this lady flipping out over the phone with her husband. She leaves crying with all the photos there on the pharmacy waiting area. We review to see what happened, only to realize her husband had the same initial as his wife with the same last name. I had unintentionally ruined their marriage, exposing the guy with another mistress. We never saw that lady again. Back in the early 80s I was reading the James Herriot series, All Creatures Great and Small. A customer walked in and wanted reprints. When I looked at the print I noticed something familiar about the setting and asked him where it was taken. It was taken at a veterinary clinic in the Yorkshire Dales, England. The guy whose picture he had taken was one of the characters in the book, Siegfried Farnham. I told him if I could have a copy of the photo I'd pay for his. He happily agreed.